Welcome to the Carolina Conversation. I'm your host, Shammond Williams, and we're going to do some Q&A with my producer, JK, University of North Carolina student, but also my producer for the Field of 68 Network. Good afternoon, JK. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
I can't complain. Just, being able to watch these Heels, and they're 2-0 right now. Been playing some good basketball. You know, they competed against Loyola, and they competed against Brown. So it was great to see them play against some other competition, but also see the Smith Center packed and rocking. I know you're happy about that, aren't you?
Oh yeah, it felt surreal to get back in the stadium, man. I missed it. The culture of just being in that stadium. It's like, you know how it is when you're in the Smith Center, there's not a bad seat in the house. It don't matter if you're in the tippity top, like it's bumping in there, and you can tell the energy, man. It's like everyone's back. Everyone was just tired of not being able to go to the games, and like now that we got the house rocking and everything, man, to have that like true Chapel Hill family aspect back, man, it's like you can tell it's just there. Everyone's ready.
That's big time. Yeah, it's great to see. I think it really helps having the people in the seats. It gives them that that competitive edge as well. So hopefully it'll continue. It'll get better. It's great having B Dot. I think he's the individual that that gets the crowd hype and just. I think he does a great job in corresponding with the fans and keeping everybody on their toes and excited and engaged. So I'm looking forward to being able to get down there and game and watch him work as well as watch those Heels put in some work as well. So,
oh yeah.
So what do you have for me, JK? What you have for me?
So been in the stadium, 2 games. Man, my boy B Dot's in there keeping it live. He's hosting the stadium, getting everybody lit in there. So being able to witness it firsthand, first game, completely take care of business against Loyola. Easy game, Caleb Love, 22, and then RJ plays the facilitator role. And then, you flip-flop the next game. Some struggles with Brown that we probably shouldn't have had, but, we're working stuff out, growing as a team. And this time it's RJ's the hot hand. He's the one scoring. And then you got Caleb Love playing the facilitator role. So, my question to you is, how amazing has it been to just see that growth of how they're just feeding off each other? And it's literally just like hot hand, get the ball, I'll run the offense.
Yeah. I think it's great to have 2 dominant ball handlers in your backcourt. It keeps the defense from being able to just key on one individual, as opposed to cut the point guard off and they won't be able to run the offense. But so having Caleb and RJ there, I think really alleviates a lot of pressure. It keeps the offense free flowing, and it gives the University of North Carolina 2 impactful scoring punches. As you alluded to earlier. Loyola game, Caleb was the scoring impact from the perimeter, and then here in the Brown game, it was RJ's heroics, late shooting ability that helped propel the Heels past a great Brown basketball team. And so when you have 2 individuals like that in your backcourt that are capable of impacting the game, it really makes it difficult for opposing coaches to say, okay, we're going to stop him, or we have to stop this individual. When you have, most people would call it a 2-headed snake in those positions, it really helps you play fast. It really helps with the creativity on the floor. And as you watch a lot of NBA teams, they're playing with those 2 dominant ball handlers and scoring, players in those positions. And so I think it's something that Hubert wanted to do I think both guys have done a great job in their roles and knowing when to allow the next individual or the other to continue his scoring prowess when he's hot.
Yeah, man, it's been great to see, just seeing it in person, how they play off of each other and feed off that energy. Now, another thing that you and I talked about was in our last episode was the transfers. It's a little different. Like we got 3 transfers on the team, but like they can play, and it's clear like Dawson and Manick and McCoy, they're all getting a lot of minutes. And the question I had for you about that is like, they're making it unique because usually like for example last year you had Armando and Dayron, both traditional bigs. They're not really floor spacers. They're down there like banging big bodies. Now it's like Armando got a lot of room down there in that paint because you got Manick can shoot, you got Garcia can shoot. It seems like everybody on the team can shoot. And like, what are you looking to see out of Mondo with that just wide open paint now, because the floor is just that spaced with all these shooters around him?
Well, I mean, he's done a great job of being able to command the middle of the floor. And the Hills have done a great job of being able to get the basketball to him and allow him to work effectively without there being double team. And like you spoke about briefly, spacing. Hubert has taken advantage of the spacing on the floor with having those guys as Manick and Garcia that can spread the floor. And so, the one thing that I'm interested in seeing, not just from Armando, but because of the floor spacing, is will Carolina continue to be the dominant offensive boarding team? Will they dominate the glass from the offensive end like they have in the past? Because now you have the floor space and those guys are standing at the 3-point line, which, you can still do that. I mean, that's really a great place to offensive rebound coming from so far away from the basket. You have a long, better opportunity to run and elude the box out. So I'm interested in seeing will they continue to be that team that gets multiple possessions from offensive rebounding. I'm interested to see the growth in Armando. Will teams begin to double down on him and see what type of passer he is out of the post? So those are some of the things that I would like to see in his growth, or more importantly, see him be able to make teams pay when they actually try to do those things, if it does become that in the future.
Yeah, that's one thing I did notice during the Brown game. As soon as he hit 20 points, it was like every time he touched the ball, he's getting doubled. And that was kind of like a little bit, what opened up RJ to get all those open looks, because he did a pretty good job for the most part, not panicking and, passing out of the double team, swinging the ball. But you make a really good point. All the Carolina teams in my lifetime, I mean, you see Hansborough, you see Zeller, you see Kennedy Meeks, you see Bryce Johnson, Isaiah Hicks, all these dudes that are just animals on the offensive glass, like you mentioned. Now, UNC's got the first big test coming up on Saturday. They play in the 7th-ranked team in the nation, who just so happens to have a 7'4" giant who can play basketball very, very well at the center position. So with the undersized team and the floor space, and like, let's just go ahead and come out and say it. Like, what are the concerns coming into that game? Because he is going to be a lot to handle.
Well, yeah, he's difficult at his size, and if I'm not mistaken, they still have the Williams kid that plays the 4.
Yep, they still have another 7-footer as well.
Yeah, he's really talented. He can handle the basketball. He can shoot it. He's really good at passing out of the interior. Playing in the Big Ten, they play 2 bigs. They play low post basketball, so he's used to seeing double teams from the low box. So he uses a face-up game and he uses quickness and skill. And so I think it'll be a great test for our interior for sure. But it'll also be a great test for our guard play as well, because, Purdue's a physical basketball team. They're well coached. They're execution basketball team. And they know what they're trying to get each and every possession. And so it'll be a great test for the Hills on Saturday against Purdue. But but before that, they have to go play at the College of Charleston as well. So, the College of Charleston has been a thorn in our side for some years, and so hopefully the Hills won't be looking to the Purdue game. They'll take care of business against a scrappy College of Charleston team that their AD is a UNC graduate as well, Matt Roberts. And so, hopefully the Hills will take care of business and then prepare themselves for a great basketball game against the number 7 Purdue team.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see, against Charleston, like you said, how they bounce back after that game against Brown. I think they're going to come out and play a good game. And then, you get Purdue on Saturday. It's going to be a real testament to see how Hubert's floor-spaced offense is going to look. Hopefully we'll be able to shoot the ball well and really keep Purdue out of the paint and make it difficult for them on defense. But that's all I got for you, man. It's always nice to get these Q&As in with you.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, man. And, everybody make sure we support the Hills. But more importantly, after this Q&A, we have Marcus Ginyard coming on the Carolina Conversation. Thank you for participating.
Before we move on, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up for BetRivers yet, now is the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, it's more secure, and it's more reliable. Now that basketball season is tipping off, get in on the action at betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. You must be 21 years or older. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And while I got you here, let's talk about the Field of 68 Media Network, where college basketball matters most all year round. This is a digital media and podcast network that we've been building over the course of the last year. We have shows hosted by some of your favorite players covering the program that they love the most. AJ Guyton hosts the House of Hoosier. Eric Devendorf covers Syracuse on the Scorer's Table. Dan Dickow hosts the Gonzaga Bulldog broadcast. We have Florida's Patrick Young and Duke's Andre Dawkins and North Carolina's Shammond Williams and Michigan's Stu Douglas and Illinois' Deion Thomas. The list goes on and on and on. We have more than 30 shows right now. So hit the links below and check them all out. And while you're at it, make sure that you go check out the Field of 12 Media Network, your home for college football.
And we have a great one with us today. We have a young man. Well, he's not a young man anymore, but we have a great individual that hails from Arlington, Virginia, who came to the University of North Carolina in 2005. He is a 2008 or 9 national champion. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Marcus Ginyard.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate you having
Marcus,
me.
Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you very much. And again, thanks
Good.
for having me. It's good to see you.
Yes. I appreciate you for participating here with the Carolina Conversation. And I know our fans and our family appreciate you as well. It's not often we're able to get so many great individuals like yourself, national champion, that we get to spend time with us. But I want to say thank you. But I had an opportunity to see you Midnight Madness, Hubert's first Midnight Madness. And I saw you doing television. So could you explain to us what Mr. Ginyard has going on right now?
Well, Shammond, there's a lot of things going on right now.
Okay.
Let's take it back a couple of months. Okay.
Okay.
In June of this year, I finished playing my 11th season as a pro over in Europe.
Yes, you did. I was going to talk about that.
I finished in France this past year. That was my second year with that team in France, with Limoges in France.
Yes.
Through this summer, got to a situation where the team didn't want to bring me back. I still had a guaranteed year on the deal, so they bought me out of my contract. So that gave me a little bit of time, a little bit of flexibility to kind of think about what I wanted to do. Coming off of a COVID year, I didn't come home last summer, so it had been roughly 2 years since I had been home. I was able to come home for Thanksgiving for a couple of days, but I came home for like 4 days after spending 16 straight months in Europe. So didn't really get to come home the way that I wanted to. So I just wanted to relax. And I told my agent, you know what, I'll go back and play in December. Okay. So then we get to June, July, August timeframe, and there's been a couple of deals that have come across the desk that I didn't really like. Didn't want to kind of jump at. I figured I'm probably going to be getting into my last or second to last year anyway. So I wanted to be a little bit more intentional about what I did moving forward. And so I started to take some meetings with some people. I started to do some, networking on the side, thinking about what life after basketball would be. And, this opportunity came up to call the scrimmage at late night. Mm-hmm. I said, why not? I'm here. I got time. Let's do it. My first time doing it. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And, but it turned out to go pretty well, and I enjoyed it. And I was lucky enough to be asked to come back this Friday, for the exhibition game, Elizabeth City State game. So I'll be back with ACC Extra, I believe, calling the game on Friday, and we'll see what happens, Shammond. I got some other news for you, but we'll see how that comes out in the natural flow of things. But long story short, just had a cool little opportunity to jump into it, and so I just been letting it go and kind of seeing where it's going to take me.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, I was going to allude on your career, professional career, because you've been doing an outstanding job, and you're like myself. You enjoy Europe. I enjoy Europe a great deal. But I think you and I had a conversation probably, this is year 11. It may have been after your third year where you were, I don't know if you remember this, you were contemplating on continuing playing because you didn't like the environment that you were in. And it was you, myself, and one of your friends. And we were talking, and I was like, well, Marcus, I think you'll like Germany. If you ever went to Germany, or if you ever went to France, I think at the time. And you were like, I don't know. I don't know. I said, well, man, you got a lot of basketball left, and you're a great basketball player. I said, I think you'll enjoy it. And then I think you ended up going to Germany. Have you ever played in Germany?
I played in Germany my first year. And so that might have been somewhere around the time before I got to France.
Before you got to France, that's where it was. Before you got to France. And
it's interesting you brought that up. I've had a lot of those conversations over the years, so that's interesting. And I've always continued after that, right? Like I've always just kind of found a reason to push after that. And I mean, I don't know why I didn't just tell you this the first time around here a couple of minutes ago, but I just had that exact same idea and conversation come up in my mind after this summer, right? Like, you got the COVID year, you get bought out of a contract. Do I want to keep doing? I just finished year 11. Do I want to keep doing this, right? And obviously, the conversation looks a lot different now than it did 8 years ago or 7 years ago, whenever that conversation was. But I actually just decided that I'm going to step away from the game of basketball. And this is actually very interesting. This is going to be the first public
statement
announcement of this. I haven't quite figured out how, if I wanted to, or how I'm going to make a statement kind of on my own. But I just decided that, now is the best time for me to just say, you know what, that was a fantastic career. That was 11 years of my life that I learned some things that I couldn't have imagined learning any other way, and seeing all the things that I've seen and experienced. And I just think that I'm ready now to move on to the next part of my life, the next chapter of my life, the next challenge of my life. And really to the next best thing that's going to happen to me, right?
Right.
I think that a lot of people look at the decision to retire as like taking a step down, but in my opinion, I'm taking a step up and taking a step forward, and I'm just super excited about all the opportunities in front of me and the things that are waiting for me down the road.
Yeah. Congratulations to you, man. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
You know, I think you've been phenomenal. I mean, you've been a phenomenal basketball player. And, you know, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we all understand that it's not going to last forever. But the greatest part about it is you've prepared yourself and you have options. And I think that says a lot about being a former University of North Carolina student athlete. And a lot of people just look at it as just being in a basketball program or just being an athlete. But we're much more than that. We're much more than that. And I'm glad that you're moving forward. I'm glad that you're seeking your next opportunity. And the one thing that I'm most definitely happy about, and I know that you'll be great at whatever you choose to do. You always have been, and I can only expect the same moving forward. So congratulations, man. Congratulations.
Thank you,
I'm happy for
Thank you.
I'm happy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So as we turn back in time, let's turn back in time.
Let's do it.
When this young man was at Bishop O'Connell, if I'm not mistaken, in Arlington, what made Marcus Ginyard come to the University of North Carolina?
That's a great question. You know, it was a combination of a few different factors, right? So growing up in the DC area in ACC basketball and just basketball in general, right? Like the DMV is just so well known for some of the best players, in my opinion, to play the game of basketball. And so growing up watching the Georgetowns and the Marylands, that really got me super excited just about basketball.
Right.
My brother playing high level basketball coming up through high school and playing in the conference that we know as a WCAC, Washington Catholic Athletic Conference, where legendary Morgan Wooten is coaching. And so basketball was just obviously in our blood, right? And so watching my brother come up through school, going to Maryland games, seeing Georgetown play, really just got me kind of excited about high level basketball. Then as we talk about Maryland, I start to see ACC games, right? And I'll never forget going to I can't remember what year it was, but I remember seeing Maryland play Duke at Cole Fieldhouse.
Right.
You know, Cole Fieldhouse was crazy, right? Like I absolutely love that place. But I also knew that I didn't want to be home in DC, right? Like I didn't want to go to school at Maryland. That was too close. I didn't want to go to Georgetown. So I'm trying to figure out what are the other big major schools that are close by? And North Carolina was the school that was far enough away, but still close enough, right? To be a short 4-hour drive away. And so North Carolina was kind of on the radar, right? And honestly, it goes back even farther than this. I can send you a picture of me in my 3rd grade class picture, and I got the starter jacket, Carolina starter jacket, the sweatsuit. I was wearing my brother's Carolina basketball camp shorts, and it goes back a long way. But to that point, watching my brother go to the Carolina basketball camp, so that kind of got me interested. Coming down to Chapel Hill to drop him off for basketball camp, that gave me a first-hand look at what North Carolina looked like. Then, like I said, my brother growing up, watching him play in the WCAC, he played against Joe Forte. And so being able to be that close to Joe, and actually there's a gym at a high school called Murray High School up in DC where every Sunday, a lot of the local basketball players would go work out and play pickup games. And so that's another time where I really got to see Joe Forte in action, up close, got to interact with him. And then watching him go to Carolina gave me even another level of interest, right? I'm like, okay, another guy from this area goes to Carolina. He's killing it. One of the best players in college basketball. And so all these things swirling together, and it just kind of felt like a place that was going to be great for me. And I did my homework, and I went around. I looked at other schools, and it was an early decision for me after my sophomore year. But I took the initiative even before I could go on official visits and things like that to start to visit other schools. And I mean, a lot of people give me a little bit of shit for this, but I went down the road and visited Duke, and spent some time at their basketball camp one summer. Went to Wake Forest, went to Notre Dame,
Right.
and visited Carolina. And it was interesting because Carolina was the last one that I visited on that list. And even after my sophomore year in high school, was offered a scholarship by Coach Williams. And tell you, I still remember the day that I got that scholarship offer. We were driving out of Chapel Hill. We stopped at the Exxon on Franklin Street. And I looked around at my parents. And I said, well, it's time to call these other guys, because that's the one I've been waiting for, and
Right.
never looked back since.
Good, man. Good. That's an awesome story. I mean, it shows your maturity as well. How you were focused on trying to make the right decision, whether people give you flack about it or not. But making sure that you visited the institutions you needed to visit to make sure that you were making the correct decision.
Exactly.
Making sure that you were making the most informed decision for yourself.
Right.
And so, I mean, it's in you. And so you made an awesome decision to come to the University of North Carolina. And so how was it when you first got to campus? I mean, the summertime, you get down here for summer school and you hit campus. How was that for you? Especially knowing that, the buildup had been there for a year and a half since you had made your commitment. How was it when you first got to campus?
It was, my head was spinning, right? It's just like so much going on. You just finished high school and you're like kind of on this high of finally getting through that and finishing that and, trying to celebrate that. But at the same time, really kind of looking forward and getting excited about this new thing that you're about to jump into, something that you really don't know anything about, right? Like,
Right.
You kind of got an idea of what things are going, you've been to practices and you've seen it, but you haven't really felt it, right? And so even just being there those first couple of days and, getting in the dorm, getting up into Granville, man, crazy thinking about Granville, right? Getting into Granville, getting settled in and like, just thinking about like just being there. And I mean, I still remember that summer calling my brother's girlfriend at the time, a fiance, hadn't been married yet, but I remember calling her, asking her about doing my laundry. Like even something that's, my head was spinning. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know if I should be washing this on hot or cold or what, not to mention class and practice and all of these things swirling around. And it was so much fun though. It was so much fun. And obviously I had such a great group of guys around me. And on top of that, great coaching staff and players that were already here. And so had a great support system, but it was still a lot to take in. It was a big change. There's a lot of emotions involved, but it was a good time. It was a good time to be alive. It was a good time to be at Carolina. And it just makes me smile thinking about it, man. Seeing Danny Green come into the room and him and his family, and it was a great time. It was a great time. It was exciting, and we all had an idea, and we all had the feeling that what we were about to do was going to be very, very special. And I think that more than anything, that's kind of what stands out to me is just that feeling. They're just looking around, knowing that we got these big time players, that we're at this big time school, that we got a coach that just got there who's the way I thought about it was like already bigger than life. And I'm just like super grateful and thankful to be in this position and just knowing that we're about to give it everything that we have and really make this something special. And sure enough, that's kind of exactly what it looked like going forward.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times people get to North Carolina and they're so enamored by the environment and like you said, the star-studded players that they're playing with or coming in with and those types of things. And you have a sense of how things should go. Tell us about your first experience going down and playing against the pros.
Man. Now, I can't remember specifically the first time, but I definitely have a memory of the first times, and it was, yeah, that was an eye-opening experience for sure. Again, I can't remember the first time, but you were definitely down there. Even those guys that had just left, Wad and Big May, man, Voss, and I'm going to be leaving so many people out, but you know, and I just remember feeling like I wasn't ready, right? You know, and to be fair, I certainly wasn't ready for that, right? And so, and I also remember a time when somebody called a foul or something, and I remember why just pointing up to the banners, right? And he's like, "Man, well, what have you guys done? Have you guys put any of these things up here? You know?"
There you go.
And what I remember most about that time is just not only getting our butts whipped, right, but just feeling that mentorship already. Mm-hmm. From the very first moments of getting down there and getting in the gym with all the former players, just knowing, I felt immediately that there was a huge responsibility for what we were about to get into, right? And I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways. Obviously, getting to spend time with the former players and hearing stories and all those other things, but like I think when you kind of boil it down to the real essence of it, I felt a huge responsibility to put banners up in the rafters, right? To be a part of teams that added to that collection, right? Not just being a part of a team that continued to look up into the banners, right? But like writing our own story, being inspired and motivated by what has happened before us, but then taking the responsibility to write our own story and to leave things hanging up there for other people to see and to continue that tradition, right? And so I think that's probably one of the things that I felt more than anything. And I think part of feeling that was knowing that in that moment we weren't ready, right? Like, which just, I think, gave us a ton of motivation and a ton of, I think it even at an early stage gave us a lot of discipline, right? To know that we have so much ground to cover and we really got to put our heads down and get to work if we want to be a part of something like that.
Yeah. So speak to us about that maturation process from your freshman year to your sophomore year, and then, you know, and having some things to come up in your junior year, and you know, explain to us like that process for you and the things that you encountered, and you know, what helped, you know, you get to the point that you felt like, hey, you know what, this is the year that we will have a chance at it, and you know, or going through the injuries and things that you encountered. You know, talk to us about that. Let people know how that experience was for you.
Yeah, I actually experienced, speaking of injuries, you know, I experienced injuries from the very, very beginning. That first summer, even before we started class basketball, I broke my wrist playing pickup. And so I spent the latter part of that summer rehabbing a broken wrist, had surgery on my wrist, and was just in time to make it for practice in the games going into that first season. So, I mean, I started the first half of the year wearing a brace on my wrist, hardly move my wrist, you know, so that was like just getting thrown right into it, right? Like, not only are you going to college basketball at the highest level for the first time, but you're also trying to nurse an injury, you know, and so like, it was, I don't even want to say it was a rough start because like I didn't feel any type of way about it. I was still super pumped about just being out there, you know, and having an opportunity to play that I wasn't expecting, you know, like 2 years before, I didn't think Sean May and Jawad Williams, well, Jawad was a senior, but I didn't think Sean and Raymond and all those guys were going to be leaving, right? So I didn't even expect to be out there on the court. So I was super excited just to be out there and to be able to contribute. And it was such a great experience for that class to have that opportunity to have that space to step in and get thrown right into it and to learn so much about what it meant to win in the ACC. And it also gave us an extreme amount of confidence to finish second in the ACC that year, when everybody thought that we were going to be reloading year. Don't worry about these guys. You know, like nobody was thinking about us at the beginning of the year. And so it really gave us a huge amount of confidence, and it really just progressed fairly steadily. You know, every year we got more and more experience. We got more and more refined. You know, okay, we had a great year. We finished second in the ACC. We go to the NCAA tournament. We lose in the second round. Then, the following year, we get a little bit bigger and stronger, and we get some reinforcements with some additional younger guys, great talents, obviously, Wayne and Ty Lawson and the crew. And then we win an ACC tournament championship. Wonderful, you know. Then we get, to the NCAA tournament, and we have another tough year, right, where think we're on the brink of being a big time team, but we fall, late to Georgetown with a chance to go to the Final Four. And then the next year again, then we just become even more powerful, getting close to dominant was 2009, right? So 2008, we get to the point where we're big time players, right? Everybody knows about us. Everybody's coming to get us. We're ranked up in top 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know exactly what, we were ranked throughout the majority of that year, but had another great year and finally make it through and get to the Final Four, right? And so like every year we just, again, get a little bit better, a little bit more, let's say a little wiser, starting to understand kind of, how to win big games and how to keep that momentum going, even when you lose games, and, just all the things that you have to learn in order to get, in my opinion, in order to get to that point. And then the following year, unfortunately, I wasn't able to be on the court as much as I wanted to that year, but just to see, again, the leaps that we took year by year to just get more and more prepared to be dominant on the scene of college basketball. So I loved our story so much because we all stayed locked in. We all stayed committed to the process, right? We weren't trying to hit a home run the first year. Now, of course, our goal is to win the championship, right? But really, the essence of what we're thinking about doing is getting better every day, right? And just focusing on getting better every day will put us in a position to win games, to win championships. And I just think that we did an incredible job of sticking to that plan of getting better every day. And no, it didn't work out for 3 years. I mean, that's a tough way to put it. I think it did work out. There were still ACC championships won. There were still, preseason tournaments won and all these things, but we didn't get to the ultimate goal. But every year we got better and better. Players improved, the team improved. And for me, that was such a great story. Now, of course, you put 15 guys together and the first year together, they win the championship. That's an awesome story too. But I just love the way that, we went step by step, got here, had some disappointments, got past that point, and just kind of continues to get, to step up that ladder until we, finally cut those nets down.
Yeah. I mean, knowing the process and knowing what you guys had gone through and watching how you started and infused talent and meshed that thing together to get to the point to where y'all were national champions is a great, like you said, a great story with a lot of different components to it. I mean, when you begin to talk about you, Danny, Bobby, Tyler, Ty, Wayne, those, and I mean, and if I'm not mistaken, Brandon was there for 1 year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he
that was
left.
Our first ACC championship. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you had a great cast. You guys were great cast. You guys were tight knitted, and you did some great things. Now, what people don't know about you guys is you are some funny guys. Now, it's
Are we now?
Now, yeah, you guys may be the funniest team that has ever played at the University of North Carolina. Now, you guys, Oh
That's good.
yeah,
I like
oh
that.
yeah, you guys. Well, see, for me, I'm kind of like in the middle. I'm kind of, I've been there. Coach Smith guy. So I've always, Coach Smith guy. So I know that line, and then I've been there when Coach Williams came and with Matt and Coach Williams. And so I've been able to see that. You guys are a funny little crew.
Well,
now.
there's a question for you, Shammond, if you don't mind flipping the script here. Please tell us more. Why do you feel like
I was going to get you to talk to us about, because every once in a while, a young man like myself at the time, you guys being student athletes, I go out and like to get me a little something to eat, on Franklin Street. So, sometimes I could catch you guys at IP3 or I could catch you down there by what's it called? Players? Players?
Oh, yeah. Players.
So between you, yourself, and Bobby and T Hands and Danny, give us one of your let me see the best way to say it. One of the best group funnies. Yeah, give me the best group funnies. Something that you always think about. We all have them now. We always have.
We certainly do. We certainly do.
Yeah. Give us one.
I'm just trying to think of one that's not going to put anybody in a bad spot here.
See, it's so many.
You know what's interesting? I'll tell this story.
Yeah.
I'm going to just incriminate myself here, all right?
That's fine.
It's interesting because it's November 2nd. Okay. And if my memory serves me correctly, Tyler Hansborough's birthday is tomorrow. So I remember a time when we went out to celebrate Tyler Hansborough's birthday. At the time, I can imagine he was turning 22, maybe 20. Yeah, probably 22. And we went out to a local establishment. I also won't name that establishment. And we went out and had a good time. We had a couple drinks. We had a good time. And before you know it, I'm gone. Nobody knows where I'm at. Everybody's like, where's Marcus at? So next thing you know, I got Bobby and Tyler in the bathroom looking for me. Meanwhile, on Tyler's birthday, mind you, not even my birthday, I'm in the bathroom throwing up, throwing up in the bathroom while we're out celebrating somebody else's birthday, right? Like generally it's the guy whose birthday it is has had a little too much to drink, but apparently that night I had a little bit too much fun. And unfortunately, I won't be able to share this, but there is a photo of me leaned up against the wall, sweating like crazy, just sick as a dog, in the bathroom of this establishment in Chapel Hill. But we certainly enjoyed ourselves. We certainly did. And I think that one of the most beautiful things about my time here at Carolina is that I personally felt like we did such a great job of keeping that balance, right? Like, obviously, the way I look at it, these college players are already pros, okay? I think that what they're going through and what they have to do in terms of their scheduling, classes, practice, travel, all those things, and playing at a high level, playing national TV, being criticized all the time, and now take that to the ninth degree with social media and all that. Like, these are things that most 18, 19, 20, even 30-year-old people don't necessarily deal with, Right. So I think of these players as professional already. And so I think that we just did such a good job of keeping a level of professionalism, getting our work done, making sure that we were, in class, getting everything done on that end, being great people, socializing with our fellow classmates, not just athletes, obviously taking care of business on the court. And so I think that we just did such a good job of doing all of those things together, right? Having such a great balance of having fun, taking care of our schoolwork, developing as human beings and young men, and crushing it on the basketball court at the same time. And so as long as all those things were in balance, I didn't have a problem going out on the weekend after a game or on an off night or whatever the case may be, and and having a good time. So I think that we really just had the best of both worlds on and off the court. And so that's something that I always think about when I think about my time at Carolina is, man, I just could not have imagined a better college experience. Couldn't.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Did a great job of not incriminating anybody as well.
I'll take it. I'll take it on myself, man.
You built kind of built for television, young man. You built for television. And so, having an opportunity to do the television the other night for this year's current basketball team, right? What are your thoughts about this year's basketball team? Since we had, what are your thoughts?
I also had a great opportunity to see several practices, right?
Okay.
I also had the opportunity to participate in some conditioning in the preseason. This was at a time where I thought that maybe I might still play. And so I was participating in some of the conditioning this fall, late summer and fall. So I got a pretty up close view of the guys as they worked out off the court, as they obviously prepare on the court together as a team. I've seen some guys in the gym as I've been down there training as well, doing some individual stuff. And so obviously a view that a lot of people don't get to see, right? So I'll just say that first. But to answer your question, I'm excited, okay? Per usual, I'm excited. I think that we have, at the University of North Carolina, we have an ability to attract talent in a way that very few other schools can, right? So we are always going to have a pool of talent here at the University of North Carolina that is arguably unmatched, right? Mm-hmm. Then we got to take that to the next level. What type of people do we have, right? What type of players do we have? Not just on the court, but just in their mindset, right? Do we have players on the court that are here to play 1 year and go to the NBA? Do we have players that are selfish and all of these things? And generally the answers to those questions, if you're here at North Carolina, are the answers that we want, right? You're here to try to win some things, whether that means you're here 1, 2, or 3 years, but you're still here to win. You're here to play well with others. You're here to be a part of, this tradition and all of those things, right? And so I think that we have a great group of young men, which it is very important to acknowledge, and it's very important if you want to win. Now you put that with the next statement, and I think that we have a group of motivated young men. And that, I think, is obviously one of the most important things. I look at these guys as guys who see things that are on the horizon for them that they haven't quite been able to reach yet. And I think that, let's talk about Caleb Love, for example. I think that he's at a point where he sees more clearly now the type of player he can be, right?
Right.
And I think that maybe it just took that, not to say that he was not a confident player, but I think that after playing a year of college basketball, seeing some of the attention that he got, seeing some of the preseason attention that he's getting now, and I just think that his experience his freshman year allowed him to see things maybe that he didn't necessarily see for himself quite yet. Maybe he didn't, and I could be wrong, but I see him looking very motivated in a different way than I perceived last year. I think we can put Armando in a similar category where, he's started to see some success, but understands that there's a lot more that he can do, and a lot more that he can do to take some more responsibility for this team. Right. We got some guys that are coming in, that transferred in, that give us a great look Super excited about Brady coming in. I'm super excited about Justin McCoy. I'm just excited about how all of these pieces are kind of coming together, right? Even the freshmen, I love having young freshmen that, honestly, I love having freshman players like we have because they just don't know any better, right? They're just like, just put them in and just let them rip and roar, right? And then obviously you got Coach Davis, who's going to do a phenomenal job of kind of molding all these things to what we need it to look like, right? Taking all these different pieces and kind of shaping it into, you know, what we know is Carolina basketball and that brand of basketball. So I think we're in for a very exciting year, a very entertaining year. I am still a little concerned, let's say. We'll be honest here. I'm a little concerned about our leadership. And again, as much as I've been around the team, I think it's also very fair for me to acknowledge that I really haven't, right? Seen practices, that's cool, but I don't know what they're like when nobody else is around. I don't know what their conversations between each other are. So there's still a lot that I'm missing. But that's just always a concern of mine because I know how important that's going to be. No matter how talented you are, what does our leadership look like? And what does our leadership look like when we're in a tough spot? What is our team going to look like when we lose 3 ACC games in a row, if that happens, which is something that I think is very possible, especially this season. This conference looks very interesting to me this season, right? And so that's where I think our leadership is going to be so important, right? And how are we going to get through the tough moments? Because those are really the moments, in my opinion, where we prepare ourselves to win a championship.
Right.
Because there's nothing like the pressure of winning 6 straight games against tougher and tougher and tougher opponents to win a national championship. So
Right.
if you can't get through losing 2 ACC games in a row or whatever the case may be, or a guy that goes down hurt for 2 weeks, you know, like if you can't get through those situations, then you're never going to make it through March Madness. So one, sorry for the long answer. One, I'm super excited. No. I think that we got some players that we expect a lot from, and also those players expect a lot of themselves, which I think is the position that we want to be in.
Right.
And excuse me for not naming everybody, but I'm expecting to see some big time things from Leaky Black. I'm super excited about RJ Davis getting back on the court, seeing what he's going to do for us this year. Kerwin, I mean, all of the pieces, man. We have, in my opinion, I think we have all of the pieces, but it always is going to come down to what's our leadership like? What's our mentality going to be like 3-4 months from now? Everybody's excited in November.
Right.
Everybody thinks they got a chance to win in November.
Right.
Man, what does it look like in February? What does it look like in January when guys are starting to get tired? It's been a long season. You're going to have also take into account that we're going to have fans this year. Mm-hmm. That's something that some of these guys haven't experienced. And really, yeah, I mean, a good number of these guys haven't really experienced. And although that's a positive, I think that could wear some of these guys down emotionally, right? Like that's a lot of energy going into a building with 30,000 people playing at Duke. And I mean, these games they wear on you. And so how do we get through those tough times? How are we going to stay motivated and determined to focus on the process of getting better every day? Because we know that those goals are possible. We know ACC championships are possible. We know that a Final Four bid is possible, a championship is possible, but we can't necessarily lose sight of the day-to-day, right? Of getting better every single day, putting our best foot forward every day, and then that will get us to where we want to go, right? So we just can't overlook the small things right in front of us. But I think we got all that we need. I'm excited for these guys to get out on the court. I'm excited for Coach Davis to, let's say, officially take the reins as these games start. And I mean, I think we should just sit down and get our popcorn out and get ready for an exciting year at Carolina basketball.
Yeah. I'm excited as well. I had an opportunity to spend some time with them this summer. go in and play with them. And like you said, we have an eclectic group, but we have a lot of great pieces. And seeing how those pieces are put together is the most exciting part about it. You know, you just want to see the best for them. You want to see them, like you say, evolve each and every day. And you're looking forward to, you know, what it can become.
Right.
And see who's going to evolve as the leader as well.
Right.
That's going to be an interesting point as well.
Yeah.
And so as we get here to the final question of the Carolina conversation that I like to ask, it's an important question now. So you take a little time to give yourself some thought.
I will.
When it's all said and done, time has gone by, what would you like the Carolina family, fans, alum to know about Marcus Ginyard? What would you want them to know and remember about Marcus Ginyard?
Man, you weren't lying. That's definitely that's a big time question right there, Shammond. That's big time. I want to think about this, but I also don't want to think too long. I want to let my gut lead me on this one.
Yeah.
And beyond anything that we ever did on the court, I just would like for them, even in what I'm thinking about in my life after basketball, right? Like, North Carolina means so much to me. And I was lucky enough to talk to the men's lacrosse team last week. And one of the things that I just wanted to talk to them about is accepting the challenge of being here at North Carolina. Just like Jawad made it very clear to us at the beginning, to be here to add to this tradition, not just to be a part of it, but to add to it. And so I've always just felt such a responsibility to this university, to the tradition of winning, and a tradition of greatness, right? But that extends so far off of the court, off of the playing field. And so I guess two things. One, I hope that 100 years from now, and they're talking about Marcus Ginyard, everybody's going to say that guy loved Carolina more than anything, right? And they're also going to say, but he also, during that time and after, became a great man that continued to do great things, continue to be a good person, continue to give back, like all of the things that Coach Smith taught us, all the things that Coach Williams taught us, not necessarily about being a player, but just about being a human being. And so I would hope that people would talk in a very positive way about just a man that I am, that I'm becoming, that I will become. And that's something that they can be proud of, to connect to the University of North Carolina, right? Here is a wonderful young man who is a product of the University of North Carolina, right? And so that to me probably means more than anything. Just want to be somebody that people see as a positive story, somebody that did more than just sports, somebody who loved Carolina, and continued to be a champion off the court well after his playing days were over. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I would like to say myself, man, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the man that you've become. I'm proud of everything that you've done. And I'm like I said before, I'm more excited about what the future holds for you. One thing that I can say is that you've represented our institution, you represented our program, and you've represented our family better than anyone. And I'm comfortable in saying that, and I'm happy and I'm proud to have you as a little brother, man. And I love you, and I'm ecstatic for you. I'm ecstatic for you, man. And
thank you.
And you carry the torch, man. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy. But you know, I'm looking forward to the future. Yeah. And but I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you for taking the time to be a part of the Carolina conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give Marcus Ginyard another hand.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And those who are listening to the Carolina conversation, when you have time, like I always say, please support the Old Dominion University women's basketball team, coached by Delisha Milton-Jones. When you have time, you'll find some great, outstanding basketball with some great young ladies as well. But we look forward to having you again in the next podcast on the Carolina Conversation. Thank you for participating and listening. Good night.